Well, howdy. Hey, you saw the world's biggest truck stop. Now let's go look at the world's biggest drugstore. Ready? Let's go. So, welcome to Wall Drug, and yes, it's the largest drugstore in the world. This is it's in Wall, South Dakota, and it was started in 1931 by Ted and Dorothy Husted. Now think about 1931. What was going on then? That was the height of the Depression going on in America and actually in the world too. And so Ted and Dorothy Husted started Wall Drug here in 1931. You can see by the size of it today that it's pretty big. It's selling quite a bit of stuff. But back in the day when they first started, it was just a small 24 by 60 foot building that actually happened to be across the street. And the Husteds also, as part of the building, they lived in the back of the building, and their living quarters were just separated by a curtain from the rest of the drugstore. For the first few years, it was a pretty tough go for them, as you can imagine, because of the Depression. But the other thing that kind of made it tough for them is that Wall, South Dakota, was, I guess you could say, lovingly described as the most godforsaken, out-of-the-way place in the middle of nowhere. And so business was kind of tough, to say the least. And when they originally started the drugstore, they gave themselves 5 years to make a go of it. And pretty much they were getting towards the end of the 5 years when Dorothy had a kind of a light bulb go off and had this idea to get people to come in. Now, if you were to look at a map from back in those days of Wall and where it sat, there was a highway, for what you call a highway back in those days, Highway 14, that passed on the outskirts of Wall. And so this drugstore sat back off the road, that it wasn't fronting the road. And so each day Ted and Dorothy would watch all these cars just in the distance, just driving by. And so the idea that Dorothy had was, hey, maybe we can put some signs out on the road and offer free ice water to the travelers as they're going by. And sure enough, that sign drove them in. And after that first day of having signs out there on the road, the Husteds, they just collapsed at night from all the free ice water they were giving away. But as a result, people coming into and buying ice cream and sodas and beers and things like that. So the rest, they say, is history. The free ice water is what drove the business, and soon thereafter, Wall Drug bought the community center across the street and expanded the business, and then it expanded some more and expanded some more and expanded some more, and so that Wall Drug is, as you can see here, it's the biggest thing going. And look at all the stuff that it's got in here. As you can see, there's also a restaurant here, and quite a few meals are served, of course, with all these people. But here's a couple of fun facts, actually. Wall Drug sells over 200,000 slices of pie every year. And here's another fun fact. They sell over nearly 1 million homemade donuts every year. Now that's a lot of donuts. Just think if you stack those all on top of each other, how big that would be. 1 million donuts, sheesh. Now this building is called the Backyard. It's actually in a building behind the main drugstore, and you'll see the outside here in a second. But here in the Backyard building, there's this historical photos collection, which features 1,400 photos depicting South Dakota and surrounding areas from the 1870s to the 1930s. So this, as well as the rest of the drugstore, it's a pretty amazing thing to look at. And if you ever get out this way, make sure you really come by Wall, South Dakota, and Wall Drug to see it. And gee, you can even make a vacation out of it. Come here and then go to Badlands National Park and then the forest and Mount Rushmore. I highly recommend it. Whoa! Well, that was a tour of Wall Drugstore, the world's largest drugstore in Wall, South Dakota. Hope you like the tour and hope you like the ice cream. Let's see what we have next on the agenda, right? See you later. Say, if you spent 7 years working as a petroleum engineer in England and you saw all the sights there were to see, the Roman ruins at Bath, the prehistoric, if you want to call it, monoliths at Stonehenge, what would you do when you came back to the United States?